Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Maria Sulindro, integrative anti-aging medicine in Pasadena, California. It is a special honor to have Mr. William Lyons joining us all the way from everyone. I'm Dr. Maria Sulindro. One moment. I think I have to, okay. All the way from Malaysia. Good morning, Mr. Lyons.
Good morning to you, Dr. Maria, and nice to see you again. And I see you're dressed in blue, very elegant.
Just like when you celebrate Om's birthday yesterday.
Oh, yes. Yes. All my children are adopted. So when we have a birthday, it's a big event. So, of course, we're all locked down here in Malaysia. So it was lovely to have some of our children. We have 28 children, but we had 8 of our children here who live with us here at home. So thank you.
That's another story. Okay. It's amazing, amazing family. Mr. Lyons is the owner, the president, and the chairman of his own company called Cell Wellbeing. I have known Mr. Lyons for many years since I purchased his software for epigenetic hair testing. That's how my patient understands. And then I use it in my practice. Now, before I would like to go on, but I would like to explain about what the topic we use today is epigenetic and immunity. Okay. Now, with this cutting edge technology, and I call it is an innovative in medicine for modern medicine or called integrative for practitioners. Okay. I'd like you to ask questions, of course, and I will check the questions in between or after our presentation, and then you just write it in the chat box. All right, now, let me explain a little bit about epigenetic because everyone knows what immune system or immunity, but epigenetic means, epi means above or beyond. So you know what gene means, right? You inherit from your parents, your ancestors. So this epigenetic apparently can influence our gene expression. So this epigenetic mapping, that's what Mr. Lyons will explain, is shown in the well-being report that he provides us when we send our hair follicle. And that reflects our personalized immune system. Now, since we are all individuals and there is no single magic bullets that will fix all the underlying stressors, we need this kind of test just to have an option rather than just depend on the blood test or urine test as usual. So, as the founder of this device, Mr. William Lyons, I appreciate your presence here, and your device has given a big help in for many of my patients. My first questions, please explain to us how your device works.
Thank you, Dr. Maria. I'll keep it simple, otherwise we could go on for hours. We use 4 hair bulbs, and the hair bulbs resonate with information when they're plucked from the follicle, from the occipital area of the skull, that's the back of the skull. Your hair is used by the police, by NASA even in space, to detect a lot of resonant information and to give them information. And so we pick up that resonance, and then we have to use supercomputers in my offices and data center in Germany. And then we pick up that information, and then we create a picture of the entire body. We, in fact, collect 804 markers from, yes, your hair bulb.
Wow, it's amazing. When I first tried to understand your device, I'm not a high-tech person, so it was very difficult initially, but now I can understand this is the non-invasive testing, and it helps so much because, as you said, it has 840 markers. So the result reflects potential of many underlying stressors that impact our immune system. Now, it's so interesting that how this technology started, and these biomarkers is growing with this modern medicine. Please share with us the discovery of your scanner, because I think it's very important.
Well, if I just go back a little bit, um, as you know, I have a very large family. I've never made any children myself. You'll be all pleased to know, because they'd be all idiots and ugly like me. So
Oh my God.
all my children are very young, or older now. But when they first came to us, we really had no idea of their background. So we used something called a Tesla coil, which I'm a physicist, so I was involved in those. And we were able to pick up lots of information. And in those days, we used fax machines to send the information to Germany, and we picked it up. And what we discovered was lots of resonances. Then the Genome Project came about, and the Genome Project showed us that we are no longer prisoners of our DNA, and that the environment that we live in and the foods that we consume actually are 98% more important to our well-being than actually the history of our DNA. And the signals that I was picking up were in fact epigenetics. It wasn't even a name then. They were just markers. And here we are many years later. We miniaturized the Tesla coil, and we were able to then put it in your hands and many other doctors' hands and link that device directly to our center in Germany.
Wow, wow. Thank you. So the patient received these reports after less than an hour, and we send it to their email. I usually help to interpret the results as a consultation, and then I teach them how to read the rest, because it's very interesting to know what they can do to change their lifestyle, the option of food, and things like that. And then we'll go to the priority attention stressors that comes out in the result. I always learn something new when I talk to you regarding this result. Okay, please share the info with the audience on these epigenetic reports maps.
All right. What is the most important thing to our lives? It's either water, the food, and the love that we have for other people, and hopefully for ourselves as well. And your emotions play a great impact on your well-being. If you're feeling sad, have you discovered how you don't feel well? If you're feeling happy, all of a sudden you feel that much better. So emotions are signals. The food that you eat, it goes into your stomach, and your stomach accounts for about 80% of what's going on in your system, as it were, because the stomach converts the food into energy. And they're all signals, and your cells have signals to communicate. Forgive me, men don't know this. Ladies, you know, when you walk into a room, you can feel if someone is not a good person, or is a pleasant person, or is going to tell a pack of lies. Men have no idea. And so this is a signal from your body, and you're receiving it. Ladies, you don't even have to talk to one another, you can feel it. So it's cell signaling, and your hair picks that information up, and we gather that cell signal in Germany, and then we translate it into the reports with so many different markers.
So How can this hair follicle read details of all those stressors? Is there simpler explanation, or is that a secret that we are not privileged to know?
Yes, some of the IP, I'm afraid, we don't share, but your hair, and more importantly, your hair bob, your hair covers your entire body. And for instance, it stands on end if you're frightened. It lies flat if you are comfortable. So it's an antenna, and there's a lot of information signaling. It's a bit like your mobile phone. You never ask, how do they do that? But I can hear you. Or if you're listening or watching me now, you're saying, you don't ask, how can they do that? You just see that we can. And that's the same thing. Instead of spending hours explaining exactly what we do, Tesla coil, hair, results to Germany, where we have supercomputers and AI systems that then put the whole thing together, and we send it back with a huge amount of information, some of which you don't really need. But Dr. Maria, as an integrative medicine expert, she can see all the markers and possibly why you are expressing one symptom. So instead of just treating that symptom, you can see the underlying potential cause for that symptom, treat the underlying cause, and now you get a much quicker and better result. It also reduces aging. So I'm 77 and I still have something of a brain. I have an epigenetic test at least every 90 days.
That one. I will ask that also. Now, from the result, Ian or Mr. Lyons, can one expect the answer of why their immune system has a problem and why this is detected? So I know you maybe this question is not clear, but I want you to share with us about the stressors that you find so that we can link this epigenetic and the immunity.
Okay. Well, there are three types of immunity. One you are born with, which is called the innate system, but I call it the natural system, okay? The other one is called the adaptive system, and the adaptive system, let's say, is as you go through life, your body adapts to heat or the cold, or it adapts to a scar that you may have had, or you may have caught mumps, or you may have caught another disease, and you have antibodies built up ready to attack that. That's called an adaptive system. And then you've got a passive system, and the passive system is when you have antibodies already there, or you take them from another body and then you react. That passive system is a short time. So I prefer the natural system and the adaptive system. So let's talk a little bit about that. The environment we live in now is completely different from the environment certainly my parents lived in. And the environment, I believe, which includes food, the Wi-Fi that surrounds us all the time, the processed food we eat, lots of other things now impact us more than what we were given by our parents. So the environment we live in impacts our epigenetics. Epi, as Dr. Maria said, is above genetics, and it resonates through our systems, and we adapt to those resonances. Sometimes we can't adapt quick enough. So when you have epigenetic mapping, we can see the stresses, which may not be shown in a blood test, of, let's say, toxins or underlying food intolerances. Let's assume that you love oranges and you eat oranges because you think vitamin C is fantastic, so you eat oranges every day. But the buildup of not the vitamin C, but the acid could be a problem. Or if you're buying those oranges and they are not cleaned, the toxic spray on the outside of the orange is very harmful to you compared to the vitamin C. So with epigenetic mapping, we can see the entire system and possibly put a finger on why you're not really optimizing or expressing yourself the way you really should be.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's really still very amazing to many of the patients who, you know, as a doctor, I don't have that many, like half an hour just to explain about, you know, would you like to have a hair tested, right? So before we continue, there is one question here. Why do you only need 4 follicles or 4 bulbs of follicles? Why not more? I will say
Very good question.
I don't have much.
First time in what, 18 years I've ever been asked that. So well done, America. The reason is 1 isn't enough, 2 not quite enough, 3 nearly perfect, 4 we get all the information. If we have more, the information really doesn't change that much. But as we're talking about 4, or where the information is gathered from, the occipital area, that's the skull area, is the only place we can take the hair to get the entire system. I don't know if you know that your gut and your brain, there is a link. So what you eat impacts the brain, believe it or not, and what you think impacts the gut. Strange. So we take it from the occipital area. If you have no hair there, then 2 hairs from the right eye and 2 hairs from the left eye. If you don't have hair in any of those places, I'm sorry, we can't help. The technology is that sensitive.
Yes, yes. Okay. Now, another question, let's just answer this one. How will the 5G Wi-Fi affect epigenetics testing? But before you answer, I want you to know no other test at this moment that can give me information if my patient has an overload of EMF effect. And this is why I also encourage my patients to find out, because nowadays we are with cell phone all the time. In fact, you know, I even have to check every time I do something. So could you please explain if this your test will help this effect on the 5G? I don't know if we already use 5G or not, but you know, China.
Yes, we do. In China, they have it. We have it here. It's in Singapore. It's in a lot of countries. I'll talk a little bit about 5G. We're just going off track a little bit, but if that's come up in a question, it means that people in America are as concerned as we are in Europe and Scandinavia.
Yes.
Denmark is questioning even now launching it. I'm working very closely now with some professors in Italy. And we've been building now for 2 years what I call a conception report, not a miracle conception. And at the moment, out of 180 families that could never have children, and even went through IVF, could not have that, out of 180, we have 120 births, natural. I'm not interested in the birth. I'm actually interested in the quality of the birth.
Yes.
Because I have 28 adopted children that I'm also interested in their quality of lives on. Yes. So it's a long answer, but it gives you a place of information. So what I discovered was that if we took the phone away from the man who foolishly puts the phone in his trouser pockets, something called the sperm count increases when he keeps that away from the trouser pocket. If the mother is encouraged during her term not to put this on that wonderful lump that talks to the world and the universe and the environment and is infected by the environment, if she does not put this on her lump, the baby inevitably is bright, clever, smiles when it's born. So this is from professors in Milan University. So coming back to the question, the answer is, in my opinion, it gives you headaches, it causes you to lose energy, it stops you feeling well, and the most important thing I learned from Australia is that it impacts your biotics in your tummy. If you don't have the flora in your tummy, whatever you eat is not going to be translated into your system. So while we can't do without 3G, 4G, or 5G, try and minimize as much as you can what you're doing with it.
Yes, yes. You know, I still remember 30 years ago, this subject already was discussed, you know, all over the world. But if we mention this 30 years ago, you know, people roll their eyes up and then, you know, you're a, you know, like voodoo, whatever. But, you know, I'm so glad now people understand, because many people also feel the effect of the new phone to their hands, their joints, and all those. I'm so glad that your device helped me to detect this, so I can tell the patient, you know, this is what is detected. You have an overload of, let's say, mobile phone effect or computer and things like that. So I just want you to know that I'm so grateful of that now.
I'll finish on that.
Yes.
There's two things that you will see. Obviously, in the report, we show whether it's 3G, 5G, 1G, or even your TV screen, that we're picking signals up in Germany from your hair. However, you will see that often associated with it, antioxidants are in demand. So the EMF impacts your antioxidants. You will see also that sleep is in demand inevitably because people have a poor sleep. And you will also see calcium is in demand because the ELF and EMF impacts the calcium.
Oh, wow. Okay. See, so osteoporosis will still be #1 in the whole world then, because coffee impacted and then this EMF impacted. Now, can we give you a couple more questions here?
If that's convenient and you're not bored and falling asleep. And I also know that you've got something important going on in America, so I'm sure you don't want to listen too much to me.
Oh boy, okay. I'm so happy that you give me this opportunity now. This question is a little bit to your business. They want to know which country have this test or the device is being used in the world. This question is from overseas, by the way.
Okay.
Near you, Singapore.
Oh, in Singapore. Oh, well, we have some very, very good doctors using it in Singapore, obviously in Malaysia and in Thailand, Vietnam. That's Southeast Asia. India, we're involved very much in India in diabetic control. We're involved with 1,000 people controlling diabetics through epigenetic reporting.
Wow.
And so that Indonesia, we have full medical approval in Indonesia. It's classed as a medical product there. However, in the rest of the world, 67 countries. So all of Scandinavia, obviously all of Europe, America, Canada. One of the greatest places is actually near you. It's in Mexico. A lot of people in Mexico and Latin America use alternative medicine. And we're very much involved with the DOs of this world and the not alternative medicine, but a holistic approach where you're seeing the whole body rather than just the specific area. Russia, of course, Czechoslovakia, Albania. So yes, 67 different countries. And I didn't know when because this was never going to be a product. It was actually developed for my children who were being left at our home. We have a beautiful home in Thailand. And yeah, we have a beautiful home in Germany and England as well. But they were just being left there and we didn't have any idea. And my skills weren't getting them any better. So we had to discover something using my physics background to discover what was going on. And then my wife said about 12 years ago, you know, darling, you should take this to the world to try and help the world.
He's
and
right.
That was it.
He's right. Well, that's good because you're listening to that and then so we benefit. Now, what
Listen to my wife always and my daughters. They're the bosses at home.
How many daughters do you have?
I have 7 daughters.
Oh, wow. So 21 boys and 7 girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, you know, in all those, did you say 60 or 96 countries? How many?
67 countries.
67 countries.
My oldest son, just to give you a real background, my oldest son, I would say he's the clever one. I'd say he's the genius. He's now 35 and he came into my life when he was around about 17 and he runs Spain.
Wow.
But he was one of the children that used to swim from the shores of Ethiopia trying to get to America. Because he thought America was the land of gold and he could take some gold back. He never got there. Unfortunately for him, he landed in my arms. And long story short, university in Spain. And he's a wonderful, wonderful dark brown, black color with fantastic curly hair. And he's the one that opened up the professional soccer market. So if you mention a soccer player of note or a soccer team of note, they use our technology. That was my son. And he finally got to America when I launched Cell Wellbeing in America at the A4 conference 5 years ago. And he was there. And what he did, he couldn't believe how many poor people were in Las Vegas. And he went out and he bought McDonald's and Big Macs and all of those things. And he gave them away for 3 nights while he was in America. Has never wanted to go back again.
Oh, is he the one? What's his name? Shilin?
No, Binny. Oh, Shilin's one of our team members. Yeah, Binny is based in Spain. He's a wonderful boy. Love him.
Okay. Now we have a couple more minutes only. So I'm going to, I have 2 more questions, but I'm going to just give you one. So I will then type it on a chat box after this. So you know how it says in one epigenetic, well-being reports, it has for 90 days. How strict is that 90 days? Or is it after 90 days, all the result doesn't, or because I personally, I told my patients to wait until maybe 5 to 6 months because they have difficulties, they have difficulties adjusting. Then I don't actually test it every 90 days, except if they have serious problems.
Okay. Dr. Maria, you're such a clever integrative medicine specialist. You already know the answer. So let me give you the reason why 90 days. When you take food, it takes 2 or 3 days to break down in your stomach. You don't get the benefits from that food for at least 72 hours. And if you're changing your history of what you eat and how you're conducting your life, it's not a silver bullet, as Dr. Maria said in the very early part of our discussions. There's no quick fix. And so it takes a while for your body to train and to be able to go back to being optimized so that it can detox itself. It can start to learn again how it should be functioning rather than malfunctioning. You know, if you teach somebody the bad habit and they keep going with the bad habit, it takes a while for the bad habit to show. And if you take away a bad habit, it also takes a while for the bad habit to go away. So we say 90 days, and if you're unwell and you're fighting something, then yes, do it every 90 days. Otherwise, 6 months. Only exception to that rule is if you're a vegan. And more people are going towards veganism these days to escape pesticides, well, not necessarily pesticides, but GMO, growth hormones, et cetera, in our foods, which seem to be pervading those. So even important sports people are going vegan. So it's a good idea when you're a vegan to look at 60 days rather than 90. One final thing on that very important question. You know, the most important thing I've discovered over all of these years, the foods that you are eating, some of them you love and you eat them all the time. If they come up in your report, quite often people will say one of two things. Oh, I love those, I can't do without them. They are the ones that are impacting you most. Please, 48 hours, do without whatever's listed as an underlying stressor, 48 hours, and then you will discover, wow, you feel that much better. Not because of what you took. Remember, it takes 72 hours before it gets into your system. But if I take something away from you that's harming you, it's almost instant. You get a massive improvement. Right. So please take those away out of your food, out of your mouth, and you will feel much better. Some of the things in the report, people will say, oh, I've never eaten that, I don't like them. The reason you don't like them is it was a historic information in your genome from your parents, and they were a real allergy to your parents or grandparents, and that's why you don't like them and never did.
Yes. Well, thank you. That's a good explanation. And I really appreciate you sharing these 30 minutes, but very valuable to all over the world who are listening. And Mr. Lyons owns many innovative and new technologies, including ability to ionize water. And we know that this is so important to rehydrate and rejuvenate us. So he will be joining us again next week, same time on Thursday at 5 o'clock. And see you next week's Thursday. I'm Dr. Maria Sulindro, Integrative Anti-Aging, and I'm in Pasadena, California. Please click the subscription and then like us and share with your friends or press the bell notification. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Mr. Lyons.
Stay well, everybody. Stay well, stay safe, live life.
Yes.
God bless.
God bless. Bye.